So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first class of biomedical signal processing. Uh, its code is BM6301. Okay, and this is the first class post this Corona pandemic, and we have to go online because most of you are not here in this campus, and we don't know when the institute will again reopen for the students. Okay, however, the show must go on. So, considering this, I will just start the introductory lecture for the biomedical signal processing. So, as you see, the name of the course is biomedical signal processing. It is basically a branch, or it is basically a this topic. It can be broken down into two parts. The first one is biomedical, and the second is signal processing. Okay, so by signal processing we basically mean the digital signal processing. Okay, so basically if you see from here, we can say that the biomedical signal processing, it is a part of digital signal processing which are being taught in various other departments like ECEI, CS, etc. Okay. Now, how is it different from the courses of this digital signal processing which are being taught in the other departments? Okay. The uniqueness of this subject lies in this term, biomedical. Okay. What do you mean by the term biomedical? The term biomedical, it is basically associated with the human health. Okay, so when we talk about human health, what is that? It may be for the identification or for the prognosis of some diseases. We want to find out whether, or we want to predict whether there is any chances of detecting the diseases at an early stage. Okay, so diagnosis or prognosis. Right, then we have say this understanding the physiological phenomena. Okay, like suppose every morning you take a cup of coffee. Now you want to study how this coffee affects your various biomedical parameters like ECG, EMG, EOG, and other signals. Okay. Third, maybe for the designing of rehabilitation devices. Okay, so what happens is that if you see, there are many differently abled persons who are dependent on others. But what happens is that they become, as you know, they become very dependent. So they also want to be independent. Okay. So who doesn't want to be independent? Everyone wants to be independent. But can we improve their independence? Yeah, in many ways, the researchers have found out ways to find out to make these differently abled persons independent in their own way. Say, for example, if a person is paralyzed waist down, so he will be on wheelchair, right? Now, when that happens, what he will be having? He will be dependent on the other family members who have to take him from one place to the other. So how to make him independent? You can make him independent by using a motorized wheelchair. So in the motorized wheelchair, what you will be having? You will be having a joystick, and the person can manipulate the wheelchair using the joystick. Now, think of a condition where there is a person who is quadriplegic. Quadri means what do you mean quadri? Hello? Anyone?
Dividing into 4.
Huh? What do you mean by quadri?
1/4 part of it.
Pardon? Can you be a bit louder?
1/4 part of the circle or quadrant.
So quadri means 4. It comes just like quadrilateral. What is a quadrilateral? It is having a 4 side. So quadriplegic means all the 4 limbs of a human person, they are incapacitated. So they are not able to, the differently abled persons, they are not able to use all their 4 limbs. So how to use that? How to manipulate the wheelchair? Now in that condition, you will be having this EMG or EOG or EEG, which will be used, which can be used for processing the signals, and from there it will be used to manipulate the devices. What are these signals now? So these are ECG. It is a electrocardiogram associated with heart. Then we have EMG, which is associated with muscle. Then we have EOG, which is associated with eye. Then we have EEG, which is associated with brain. Okay. Now we all know that heart acts independently. Okay. So we do not have any control over there. So we cannot use the ECG signals to manipulate any rehabilitation devices. However, when we talk about these other 3 signals, they can be manipulated by the persons. Now what we can do is that we can acquire this signal, okay, and then we can process the signal, and then that process signal can be put up into some logic, where that logic will be used to manipulate the rehabilitation devices. Okay. So this is all about this biomedical. Okay. So we have understood what is biomedical. Now, what is digital signal processing? Now again, when we talk of digital signal processing, this digital signal processing, it's basically is subcategory of signal processing. Okay. Now, before going into the digital signal processing, let's understand what is signal processing. Now, what is signal processing? Again, when we talk about signal processing, we are coming up with this two words, signal and processing. Now, what is a signal? So, how do you define signal?
Any command or in the form of numerical, sir.
Pardon?
A command which is signal, or it is in the form of numerical or letters?
No, it is not that. So, a
Signal
signal is an independent variable which changes with an a signal is a dependent variable which changes with an independent variable. Okay.
Okay.
So I have used two words, dependent and independent. Okay. So I have used two words, dependent and independent. I hope all of you know that a one-dimensional signal, it is mostly given by x of t. Okay. Now what is x? X is a dependent variable
of t,
which changes with respect to the independent variable t. Okay. Now t, which is basically the time, it is an independent variable. We do not have any control over the independent variable, and the dependent variable, it varies with respect to the time. So what happens to this dependent variable? As I said, the dependent variable, it continuously changes as the time changes. That means we can say that signal contains a packet of information which changes with respect to time. So what I have said is signal, it contains packets of information and which changes with respect to time t. Okay. Now you consider any of these signals, ECG, EMG, EEG. How do we represent? We represent with
signals,
T and amplitude. So in ECG, we will be having a graph like this. Okay. So what is that? In the y-axis, we are having the amplitude, and in the x-axis, we have the time. Okay. Now the question arises: are all the signals having they have the independent variables as t? So it is a big question. Is it so? It may not be. The reason being, the independent variable, say, it may be dependent on a distance d. Okay, and you want to find out across a distance how is parameter varies. Say for example, in both the cases we can take temperature as an dependent variable. So if you want to associate the biomedical signals with the temperature, we suppose we are sick. Many a times we go to the hospital and they can put various sensors on our body, and using those sensors, what we can do? We can measure the temperature of our body with respect to time. So if an analog sensor is put, so what will happen? So this will be capital T, say this amplitude will be capital T. So you will be having some, this thing says some temperature variation is there, and suddenly at a particular time of the day your temperature increases, and after medication it again decreases. Okay, this is a signal, and this is a biomedical signal because the temperature what you are measuring, it is being generated by the human body, and it can provide us information about the human health. Okay, this is an important thing. Now what about this AD? Sorry, what about the AD? What happens over there? Suppose you are at NIT and you are walking from the ceramic gate to the SAC building. So what happens over here? When you are walking from ceramic gate to the SAC building, you are walking down a straight path, right? So you are going from ceramic gate to SAC building. Now suppose you have a temperature measuring device with you. So what you will do? As you walk this distance, you will start recording the temperatures across this distance. So over here, your independent variable is D, which is the distance, and your temperature capital T, it becomes the dependent variable. So what happens? You have the signal, and at various time points you are having, or sorry, at various distances you are having different temperatures, right? All of these are different, right? This is also a signal, right? So, and what kind of signals are these? These are one-dimensional signals. So we are having one dependent variable and one independent variables. Okay, in both the cases, this is the dependent variable and this is the independent variable. Now the signal can be a 2D signal also. Say for example, the images. In the images, we can have, say, the amplitude A, it varies with respect to x comma y. So what happens to x? X is an independent variable, y is an independent variable, and both are denoting the distance, okay, in the x and y plane. So suppose this is an image, we are having x parameter distance, we are having y parameter in distance, and then this A is the amplitude of these pixels, right? So that is a 2D signal. However, the scope of this class is limited to 1D signal, and that too of this form x of t. Okay, x of t. So we will be having some parameter which changes with respect to time. Okay. Now we talked about digital signal processing. Now we are talking about this digital signal processing, and especially we were talking about this signal processing. Now what we have talked that we are having t, we are having some parameter a which changes with time. Now what kind of signal it is? It is a continuous time signal. Okay. So is it an analog signal or digital signal? Is it an analog signal or digital signal? It is an analog signal. Okay. Now suppose the same information I am taking using a thermometer. Okay. So what will happen? Then most commonly what doctor says, if you are having fever and if you are at home or even if you are at hospital, in many cases doctor asks the nurses or they will ask your family members to measure the temperature at specific intervals. So in those cases, what will be having at the 0 time we have taken one signal, at first time index we have taken another signal, at second time index we have taken another signal, and in this form it goes. So how will be the time denoted over here? The time over here is denoted by n. Okay. So this is continuous time signal, and this becomes discrete time signals, DT signal. Now this DT signal can also be obtained from the first signal. The first signal is xt and the second signal is xn, because we have changed the time parameter. Okay. Now the second signal can also be obtained from the xt signals by the process which is called sampling. Okay. So what it will do, suppose it starts with 0, this xt signal, it was starting from 0, then it was taking 1 minute, 2 minute, and in between also you are having 1.1 minute, 1.2 minutes, in that way you are going, and it was continuously changing. Okay. But in this second case, we are having the signals at 0th hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, and so on. So in this first signal, we are having the information about the 0th hour. We are also having the information about the 1 hour. We are also having the information about the 2nd hour, and we just have to take these signals, these amplitude values, and we get another new signal, which is the discrete signal. So in the discrete signal, we do not have intermittent values. Between 0 and 1, there will be no 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute data. So if you are going for the discretization, say for as 0 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, then this 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, this data will also be not there. Okay. So any XT signal or the continuous time signal then can be converted into discrete time signal by the process of sampling. Am I clear? Now what? Is this an analog signal or digital signal? What type of signal it is?
Digital signal. Time interval.
It is a
Digital signal.
digital signal. So all of you agree?
Sir.
All of you are in agreement of this thing that this discrete time signal, it is a digital signal. अरे हाँ ना कुछ तो बोला.
Yes, I am agree.
Hello? This is wrong.
Oh.
Discrete time signal is not digital signal. The reason being, what it is an analog signal. The definition of a discrete signal is that both the dependent and the independent variables, they would be discrete and they will be quantized in nature. They will be discrete and they will be quantized in nature. Okay. So that means both the time domain and the amplitude domain parameters or the Y domain parameters, they can attain only specific values. Okay. However, in this case, the temperature can assume values from -infinity to +infinity. Okay. The temperature can assume any value from -infinity to +infinity. That means the dependent parameter, it is not discrete nor quantized. Okay. So it is an analog signal. Okay. Next comes the digital signals. What are digital signals? So in
Numerical
this
value.
second case, xn, you have n as the time period, this time scale. Over here also in digital signals, you will be having n as the time scale, because time scale is a discrete thing, and in the digital signal also your time scale is discrete, 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. However, your amplitude values, they will also be some discrete values. So say 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever the unit may be. So it will either have 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. So say first one is 1, second one is 0, third one is say 2, fourth one is again 1. Okay. So in this way, the signal what we will be getting, it is a digital signal. Okay. Now, what actually is signal processing? We have talked about signals so much, right? Now, what actually is signal processing? Okay, and why it is important? What does the processing means? Say, for example, take the example of tomato. Take the example of tomato and tomato ketchup. So, if we start with tomato and we end up with tomato ketchup, what we call it? It is a food processing. So, what we do over there? We apply various methodologies on the tomato to convert the tomato into a tomato ketchup, right? Similarly, what is signal processing? So what and what is tomato ketchup over here? It is a meaningful product for us for our consumption. Right? Now, what is signal processing? You have got a temperature signal, no doubt. You have got a very good temperature signal. You have used various sensors and you have captured a good quality signal, right? Now, what is processing? The temperature over here, it might not give you an informative or any information, okay? So what we do is that we apply a set of algorithms or we apply some mathematical operators onto the signal to get some meaningful information. So in other words, what you can say, signal processing is defined as the implementation of the different mathematical operators in a logical way to extract some meaningful operation. Okay. Now, what is algorithm? Algorithm is nothing but the application of series of mathematical operators in a meaningful way so that you can extract some information, right? So you are having a signal, you are applying a series of mathematical operators like multiplication, convolution, addition, subtraction, division, whatever you can think of. So you are applying those sets of mathematical operators onto the signal to extract some meaningful information from the signals. Okay. So that is called signal processing. So when it is a continuous time signal, we call it signal processing or analog signal processing, right? Now, if you apply those meaningful algorithms or those algorithms onto a digital signal, then it is called digital signal processing. Okay, then it is called digital signal processing. And then subsequently, when we apply these digital signal processing techniques over a signal which were acquired from the humans, it is called biomedical signal processing. Okay, it is called biomedical signal processing. So am I clear? What is a biomedical signal processing? Okay, good. So biomedical signal processing is basically a field of study which deals with the implementation of different mathematical operators in a logical way to extract some meaningful information from the signals that are obtained from the human body. Okay. Now, the human body, as I already told you, that it generates a lot of signals. We have thermal signal from our body. We have ECG. We have EEG. We have EMG. Okay. We have EOG. Right. We have EGG, sorry. Okay. We have speech signals. So this ECG, EMG, EOG, EGG, these are electrical signals. Okay. Even this EOG, it is slightly different. It provides you the it helps you in the measurement of electrical dipole. Electrical dipole. Okay. Thermal is a thermal signal which basically is generated due to the radiation of IR signals from the human body. Okay. Then speech, it is a mechanical signal or a physical signal, and this ECG, it is electrocardiogram. EEG, it is electroencephalogram related to the brain. ECG is related to heart. EMG is related to the muscle. EGG is electrogastrogram. Okay. Then we have electroneurogram. ENG. Okay. It is associated with the neuron or the nerve cells. Okay. So you can see, another important thing, this ECG, EEG, EMG, EGG and ENG, they are associated with the action potential of the cells. These are associated with the action potential of the cells. That means when you excite these cells, the cells of this, when you excite these tissues, the cells of these tissues, they generate action potential due to the flow of the ions within the cells. Okay. So basically these signals are generated due to the ionic movement of the ionic movements within the cell. Okay. And ionic, what are the ions? Like sodium, calcium, potassium, all these things will be there. How EOG is different? EOG is different. Suppose you are having we are having this eye. This is the cornea, and we are having a lot of this rod cells and cold cells in our retina. and they are very active, they are metabolically very active, and hence they acquire a negative charge at the back of the eye. Okay. In cornea, we have a very docile cells. Docile cells means they are not very active, they are lethargic, and due to this reason, as compared to the this retina, this cornea, they are positive in nature. So if you see, we are having a set of negative charges and we are having a comparatively positive charges. So we are having a dipole. It is a fixed dipole. Okay. So what happens? Suppose if you are having the dipole in this moment, in this way. So you have put an electrode over here, you have put an electrode over here. And then you are having 2 electrodes over here. Okay. And you are measuring the signal. Okay. So what happens? You are looking straight and then you are this thing, and then there is a reference electrode somewhere here. So this is the reference electrode, right? Now with respect to this reference electrode, which is far off from the eye, when you measure, this will be having a what you call a high charge. When you move the eye towards this one, this dipole, this will be having an high charge, and then when you will be moving this one over here, it will be having this electrode will be having a high charge. So if you want to measure the potential of these two electrodes in a comparative sense, so what will happen when this dipole is in between? The distance between this dipole from here to here and here to here is equal. So what will happen? You will be having a straight baseline. Then if you move the eye towards your left, towards this one, in this position, this electrode, it will be having a larger potential, so it will give you a high signal. Okay. Then again, when you move it on the left hand side, it will give you a low signal like this. Okay. Sorry, not this one. So it will be having something like this. Sorry, low signal. So what we are doing basically, we are measuring the potential, a differential potential, using the biopotential amplifier, which is basically a differential amplifier. So what we are doing, we are measuring the potential at the left and the right eyes. Okay. So suppose your left is at a this non-inverting terminal of the differential amplifier, and the right eye is at the inverting terminal. So what will happen when you move the eye to the left? So your output will be positive, and when you move your eyes towards the right, so what will happen? It will be closer to this right electrode. So the potential at the this inverting terminal, it will be higher, hence it will go to the negative side. Okay. Now what do you expect from this class? So what are the topics we will be covering? So we will be covering doing a short introduction on discrete time signal systems and signals. Then we will be talking about Z transform. Then we will be talking about the difference equations. Okay. So this short introduction is necessary because many of the students, they come from different backgrounds and they do not have exposure to the digital signal processing in their previous classes, in their BTech classes, undergraduate classes. So we will be doing this one. Then from there we will be moving to IIR filter design. Okay. So in that we will be doing this impulse and step invariant method, bilinear transform method, then matched Z transform method. It is basically the impulse transform method. Then we will be talking about the designing of the Butterworth filter and the Chebyshev filter in the digital domain. Okay. Now after that we'll be talking about FIR filters design. So what are IIR and FIR filter design? So I feel every one of you know about this low pass filter, high pass filter, band pass filter, right? So when we want to design it in a digital format, we have two types of filters, IIR filter and FIR filter. These IIR filters, they are regarded as infinite impulse response filters, and FIR filters, they are regarded as finite impulse response filters. Okay. So what does this mean? Suppose you are having a system, you are having input Xn, you are having output Yn. So when your Xn is an impulse, that means it is equal to delta n. Your Yn can have an infinite number of series. Okay. So when your Xn is delta n, your Yn, it becomes Hn, which is called the impulse response. So it can have different values which will go up to infinity. Or so if that is the case, when you give an impulse and if you have infinite number of output values, then it is called infinite impulse response. Any filter which shows infinite impulse responses when excited with an impulse input, then they are regarded as infinite impulse response. Okay. Infinite impulse response filter. On the contrary, if these things will be having some say some finite number of values when you are exciting with the delta n, please mute your microphone. Then what will happen if you are having finite number of values, say 5, 10, 20, whatever, it has to be finite, then it is called FIR filter. Okay. So both of them, they have their own advantages and disadvantages. So we'll be discussing while we'll be discussing about these IIR filter and the FIR filters. Okay. So over here we'll be in the FIR filter design, we'll be talking about Fourier series method, we'll be talking about windowing method, we'll be talking about frequency sampling method, then we'll be talking about half band FIR filters, then we will talk about FIR digital differentiators, and lastly we will talk about FIR Hilbert transformers. Okay. Then in the next chapter we will be talking about various optimum linear filters. They are also regarded as the Vinier filters. These filters, Vinier filters, they are a class of adaptive filters. Okay, they are a class of adaptive filters, and over here what they do is that they try to minimize the mean square error. Okay, so we'll be look into what is mean square error criteria, Then we'll talk about FIR veneer filter, non-causal IIR veneer filter, and causal IIR veneer filter. So we'll be talking about these things. Then in the next chapter, we'll be talking about multi-rate digital signal processing. Over here, we'll be talking about decimation. We'll be talking about interpolation. We'll be talking about sampling rate conversion, and then polyphase decomposition. Okay. What is decimation? What is decimation? Decimation is to reduce something. So if you are having, say, in a time scale, if you are having say 100 points, and if you decimate by 2, it will be becoming, the time points you will be getting up to 50. So when you fast forward your movie or something like that, so what happens? You complete the whole movie. If it is fast forward by 2 multiplied by 2, that means you complete the whole movie in a half time. Okay. So decimation, so how it is done? It is done by decimation. So what decimation does? It removes the information at every alternate time instances, and that's why it is able to give you the complete information in a squeeze time. Whereas this interpolation method, it will incorporate some information in between, and it will delay your observation of the movie. Okay. So what we are doing, basically, when we are making the movie, we are taking the signals in a frame-wise manner. So what we are basically doing, whether we are cutting or we are adding some information, we are changing the sampling rate. Okay, we are changing the sampling rate, and there are various what you call applications where we may have to start with a specific sampling rate, and then we have to change the sampling rate to get a meaningful what you call, or to get a suitable result. Okay. So those kind of processings, they are regarded as multi-rate digital signal processing. So we'll be talking about those over here. Then we'll be talking about the digital signal modeling. Over here we'll be having AR, which is autoregressive, then MA, moving average. Then combining these two, we'll be having ARMA, which is called autoregressive moving average model, and then lastly the ARIMA, ARIMA, autoregressive integration moving average. So these are basically used for time domain prediction. So these are applicable on the time series signals. Then in the next chapter, we'll be talking about the time frequency analysis. In the time frequency analysis, we'll be talking about STFT, short time Fourier transform. Then we'll be talking about the wavelet transform. Then we'll be talking about the wavelet packet decomposition. Then in the next step, the next chapter, we will be talking about the DSP hardware. Over here, we'll be talking about designing methodology of the DSP hardware. Then we'll be talking about the popular architectures and overview of programming. And lastly, we will talk about the application nodes. Now, this application node, this will not be a separate topic. At point application, I will be discussing those applications then and there itself. Okay, so this is not a separate chapter. Okay. Now, books to be referred: Digital Signal Processing Principles, Algorithms and Applications by Proakis. This is one of the Bibles of the digital signal processing. You can look into this. Then Discrete Time Signal Processing by Oppenheim. Then Digital Signal Processing by Tarun Kumar Rawat, right? Then this biomedical digital signal processing by Willis J. Tompkins. This is one of the preliminary books to get started with biomedical signal processing. Okay, so this book, this topic will be covered quite extensively over here. Then this conceptual wavelets in digital signal processing by D. Lee Fugel. So this is another book which will be used. There is another book which I forgot to mention over here. Linear signal systems. Linear signals and systems by Lati, BP Lati. Okay. So that book will also be used, will also be referred. Okay. So you can refer to over here. Then coming to the evaluation, how the evaluation will be done? Evaluation will be done, mid-semester examination will be there, so 30 marks. End semester examination will be there, which will be of 50 marks. Okay. Then teachers evaluation, we have class tests. So the class test will be 10 marks or even 20 marks. Okay, so which will be averaged out to 20. So we'll be having 4 class tests, and out of this your base 2 class test marks will be taken. Okay, then assignments 5 marks every week, maybe not in this week, but from the next week you will be getting the assignments, and you will be marked over those assignments, and at specific intervals you have to scan your copy and send it to your TA through the WhatsApp group which we have made, and then that will from there we will be having 5 marks. Okay, so be prepared. So your marks is in your hands. So whatever you do, if you see, we have marks for everything. It will be a continuous evaluation. Okay, so we believe in continuous evaluation. So your teacher's evaluation will basically a continuous evaluation. It will not be on any specific criteria. So you will be continuously evaluated. Okay, so thank you very much.